The children in Kibera fear the rain. Not because the rain makes walking in the narrow streets an ordeal, but because no one can hear their screaming. 6 out of 10 girls who live here are victims of systematic rape before adolescence. We sometimes speak about them, those unhappy citizens of the other world of Africa, home of unending despair, images of whom come to us as signals from another world, shattering our delusions. People who have had to learn to distill their sorrow and their poverty, the AIDS that kills them, and the horror that destroys their lives, and turn it into hope and fortitude. The sweet smell of decay, refuse, sickness and death rip through the clothes and seep through the skin, all the way to the visitor's soul. In the ruins, the rubbish and the filth, all these children understand and appreciate early on that making the best of their personal skills, taking charge of life, begin and end with education. Three of the country's best schools are here, among the mounds of rubbish, the refuse, the filth, and the sewage. A sea of tin roofs covers the misty slope of the hill on the northern edge of the capital. No one knows exactly how many people call these dark, sunless streets home. But in Kenya, hope always smiles, a hope people place in the hands of God.
Doxa patrike io ke giopnev mamatike nin ke ikeis tosionanstonionamin.
The red dusk of the African sky is captured in these sculptured faces, reflecting at all times a moving tenderness, fragile and hesitant. There are no definitions, no interpretations, no rules or procedures, only irrefutable numbers with their painfully indisputable objectivity. 1.5 million people piled up in just over 1 square mile of African soil. Without homes, running water, electricity, sanitation, roads, schools, hospitals, future or hope. Life expectancy is just 46 years. 80% are unemployed. 54% are AIDS carriers. 100,000 orphans, most without any surviving relatives. Every 14 seconds, a small child loses his guardian. Children who want to grow up, to have sun and water just like the birds and the trees, to make dreams and pursue them. children who have learned early on to live with sorrow, neglect, and horror. Jacqueline was 13 years old when she first went to the orphanage. She doesn't remember when she lost her parents, but she was told they died of AIDS. Stephen is 9 years old. He is not an orphan. His parents abandoned him on the streets 4 years ago. He ended up at the orphanage after an older child stabbed him and stole his few belongings. Margaret is now 16. After the death of her mother, her father raped her systematically and maltreated her for years. Each child has a story, stories of horror and pain that are, however, painfully true, tragically alive and original. They could be the stories of Alfred, Beatrice, or Shirley. The Makarios Orphanage, a refuge for some 90 orphans, gives the impression of being at the end of an unknown, lost continent. In the safety of the orphanage, children come to know the warmth of care and attention. This wonderful feeling of care expressed in something so simple, something we all take for granted, a plate of steaming food. In this lawless, forsaken town that all the maps, all the governments and organs of power have ignored, the multitude becomes one. Here is a place where good and evil, beauty and ugliness, joy and fathomless despair, the sweet and the bitter, complete darkness and infinite light, night and day, come together, mesh into one, flirt and cancel each other out. In the last corner of despair hides hope.
My name is Adam Wangai.
Ah